It started with a hammer, a single swing against plaster that had stood untouched for half a century. The house at 112 Brookline Avenue wasn't special. A two-story colonial with chipped white paint, sitting quietly in a Massachusetts suburb. For years, it was just another property waiting for renovation, until the walls started to talk. The new homeowner, Alex Harper, was tearing out drywall when the sound changed, a hollow thud, deeper, different. He pressed his hand against the wall, and it didn't feel right. So he swung again. The plaster crumbled, and something fell out. At first, it looked like old insulation, but then came a shape, a curve of bone, a strand of hair perfectly preserved, and beneath it, a small fabric shoe. Alex stumbled back. The room went silent, because what he'd just uncovered wasn't part of the house. It was part of its history. Pause. Before we go deeper, I want to ask you something. If you found something hidden inside your walls, something human, what would you do first? Drop your answer in the comments below. I want to see how many of you would call the police and how many would look for answers first. Because in this story, what started as a renovation became an excavation. One that would dig straight into a mystery buried for 50 years. The police arrived within the hour. The forensic team sealed off the property while neighbors gathered behind the tape, whispering, pointing, imagining. It didn't take long for the coroner to confirm what Alex already suspected. The remains belonged to a child, likely between 7 and 9 years old. The skeletal structure was nearly intact, and the space between the studs, that narrow void behind the plaster, had been deliberately sealed from the inside. Detective Rachel DeLuca, a veteran of cold cases, stood in the dust-filled room, staring at the small shape on the floor. She'd seen death before, but something about this scene felt different. Intentional, personal. The house itself told part of the story. Built in 1972 by a man named Walter Jennings, a retired teacher who'd lived there with his wife, Margaret, and their only son, David. Records showed that Walter died in 1995. His wife followed a few years later. No missing persons report was ever filed from this address. And yet, there was now a child's skeleton sealed within their walls. Detective DeLuca began digging through property records, school rosters, and old neighborhood directories. That's when she found it, a yellowing flyer in the local archive, dated 1973. Missing, Emily Turner, age 8. Last seen walking home from Brookline Elementary. The location? 3 blocks from the Jennings house. The case had gone cold within a year. No leads, no suspects. And now, 50 years later, a child's remains had surfaced in a house built during the same year she disappeared. DeLuca brought the evidence to Dr. Simon Kay, a forensic anthropologist known for reconstructing cold cases through environmental residue. His analysis was swift and haunting. The preservation, he said, suggests this cavity was sealed with care. Whoever did this wasn't hiding panic. They were hiding permanence. DNA testing would take time, but something in DeLuca's gut told her they weren't just reopening a missing child case. They were about to exhume a story that someone had buried alive. As for Emily Turner, her disappearance had left a scar on the town that most had long forgotten. Newspapers from the time painted a familiar picture. A bright, cheerful child, a short walk home from school, a final sighting near the corner store, waving goodbye to a friend. And then, nothing. Police back then had questioned every local family, including the Jennings. Walter, the homeowner, was cooperative. He told officers he was tutoring students that evening and had no contact with Emily. His alibi checked out. But what caught DeLuca's attention wasn't what was said. It was what was missing. In every report, Walter mentioned his wife. But not once did he mention their son. David Jennings, age 10 at the time, had vanished from every document after 1973. No school records, no medical visits, no driver's license. It was as if he'd never existed. DeLuca's next move was to track down any surviving relatives. She found a niece, Helen, who remembered visiting the Jennings house once as a child. Helen's recollection was foggy, but one detail stuck with her. There was a door in the hallway that was always locked, she said. Walter told us it was for storage, but I remember hearing tapping behind it sometimes. DeLuca returned to the house, now sealed and silent. The renovation crew had cleared out, leaving behind the smell of plaster and dust. In the basement, under a warped wooden shelf, she found a small metal tin. Inside, a child's diary. The name on the first page read, David Jennings. Most of it was what you'd expect. Homework complaints, drawings, daydreams. But near the end, the tone changed. Dad says I shouldn't talk to her. But she's my friend. She says she's not supposed to come inside, but when Mom's gone, we play in the basement. Her name is Emily. The diary confirmed it. The Jennings son knew the missing girl. But what DeLuca couldn't shake was the phrasing. She's not supposed to come inside, only when Mom's gone. Who was keeping her out and why? The next few entries grew darker. Dad yelled again. Said if anyone finds out, everything will be ruined. I told Emily we have to stop, but she cried. She said she doesn't want to go back home. Then, the final page, scrawled in shaky handwriting. There was an accident. She fell down the stairs. I didn't mean to. Dad says no one will understand. He says it's better this way. I can still hear her. The last date, October 1973. The same week Emily disappeared. DeLuca closed the diary, her hands trembling. If this was true, then Walter Jennings, the father, had sealed the body in the wall, but not to cover up a murder. To protect his son, DNA results finally came back. The remains behind the wall were, indeed, Emily Turner. But there was another surprise, secondary DNA residue on the fabric fibers. Male, aged approximately pre-adolescent at the time of contact. David Jennings, the boy who no longer existed. DeLuca checked every archive, every digital trace. There were no death certificates, no school transfers, no immigration logs. But the Social Security Administration revealed one curious detail. A man in another state had once applied for a passport under the name Daniel Jensen, a near-perfect alias, using a birth date that matched David's exactly. The passport had expired in 2015. The address listed? Salem, Oregon. DeLuca flew west, the file thick in her bag. The property in Oregon was quiet, a small home surrounded by evergreens. A car in the driveway, porch light on. She knocked once. The door opened. A man in his late 50s stood there, thin, quiet, eyes cautious. David Jennings? She asked. He hesitated. That name's been gone a long time. DeLuca told him what had been found. The house, the wall, the diary. His hands trembled as she spoke. And when she mentioned Emily Turner, his face collapsed. I thought she was gone for good, he whispered. He told me. He said she'd be safe there, that nobody would ever find her. That was my fault. David's confession came in fragments, half memories blurred by trauma and time. He said that Emily had come to the house often, seeking shelter from a violent home. His mother disapproved. His father was furious. Then one night, an accident, or what he believed was one. She fell down the cellar steps. Walter found them both, panicked, and decided that no one could know. He built a wall, a shrine disguised as guilt. But here's where the story fractured. Because the autopsy on Emily's remains revealed a fractured hyoid bone, the kind consistent not with a fall, but with strangulation. And there were no signs of post-mortem sealing, meaning she was still breathing when she was hidden. DeLuca confronted David with the findings. He went pale. I didn't touch her, he said. He did. He told me she fell, but she was crying. She was still moving when he carried her upstairs. David remembered his father whispering to him that night, saying the words that would haunt him for 50 years. You didn't see anything. There's no one here. There was never a girl. Walter Jennings, respected teacher, war veteran, husband, had buried a child alive in his own home. To protect himself, not his son, back in Massachusetts, DeLuca ordered another scan of the Jennings house. This time, the entire structure. And that's when the tech team found something no one expected. A second sealed cavity, smaller, deeper, beneath the basement stairs. They broke it open. Inside was a small wooden box, wrapped in wax cloth. Inside the box, a ring, a child's toy, and a faded photo of the Jennings family. But there were 4 people in it. Walter, Margaret, David, and a young girl with curly hair, not Emily Turner. A name etched on the back. For our Emily. Christmas 1971. 2 years before the real Emily Turner disappeared. The discovery shattered everything. Who was the girl in the photo? Was Emily Turner truly a stranger? Or had the Jennings family known her all along? Forensic imaging suggested the second cavity beneath the stairs might still contain more than objects. The scanner picked up faint organic residue, traces of decomposition, long since faded but still detectable. Two Emily's, two timelines, one house that kept its secrets buried under layers of paint, plaster, and lies. Detective DeLuca stared at the cracked foundation, her voice low, almost a whisper. We thought we found where it ended, but maybe this is where it began. Subscribe now, because in part 2, the house at 112 Brookline won't be the only one hiding ghosts. This was Trace Crime Files. Subscribe for more stories where truth is stranger than fiction, and justice is never as simple as it seems.